We heard you guys loud and clear. You wanted an emergency podcast, and now you have one. This is Eagle Eye presented by Nissan. Reuben Frank and Dave Zangaro. We got word on Wednesday. Dallas Goedert will be back in 2025, Reuben.
Yeah, and boy, it's been a while. When was our last emergency pod? We've done extra pods, but not emergency pods. We've been talking about this, and we didn't really see a reason this couldn't happen. And it just made sense that the money could be agreed on. And generally, when the team wants a player at some price, they like the player. It's just a matter of the number. And the player wants to be here. Usually when those two things are in play, you can find common ground, and they did. And it's a win for Dallas. He doesn't have to go looking for a new team after 7 years here, a team that probably won't be as successful as this one. And for the Eagles, they have their tight end back who's had injury issues, but is still a very good player when he's healthy. So it's a win for everybody, and it's a good day for this franchise.
Yeah, let's rewind a little bit and kind of set up the situation that led to where we are today. Basically, Goedert, who is now over 30, has dealt with a lot of injuries, was scheduled to make over $14 million this year, but none of that money was guaranteed in the final year of his contract. So it was always very, very, very unlikely that he was going to play out this final year from both sides, right? Goedert wants that guarantee in his contract, and the Eagles weren't going to pay him that much on a one-year deal. So what ends up happening is they come to an agreement in the middle, very much like how Josh Sweat did last year. He had to take a pay cut, but they guarantee him some money. They give him an opportunity to make a little bit more in incentives, and then Sweat goes out, has a really good season, finishes it off with a great Super Bowl, and then gets paid $76 million on the open market as a free agent. So that's kind of what happens here with Goedert. He gets an opportunity now to play this year out. If he stays healthy and he's productive, he'll make a lot of money.
Yeah, either here or somewhere else. You're right. And look, they're a better team with him. And I get the injuries. He's averaged 12.4 games per season since 2020. It's a lot of games he's missed 7 last year. But when he's been healthy, you see what kind of player he is. In the postseason, I believe it was 17 catches for 225 yards and a touchdown in 4 postseason games. Second most yards ever by an Eagle in a single postseason behind Alshon's 219 in 17 in 3 games. So he's still productive when he's healthy. And, you know, you're not like, you'd rather have a healthy Dallas Goedert for 10 to 12 games than not have him at all. So it's not ideal. And he does have a tendency to get banged up, but man, I really like the player. And you think of some of the touchdown with all the stiff arms. He actually slowed down the stiff arm to do it again. The postseason production, just the consistency, the big catches, the physicality, what he means in the running game. Certainly, I mean, you look at Saquon's numbers when Dallas played versus when he didn't play, and there's a significant difference. Not the only reason, but he just means so much to this team. And this kind of goes against everything that Howie has been doing, which is replacing older players with young players. But there's a reason. It's really good. The number isn't exorbitant. He was affordable. It's not like he's getting a $100 million contract. So it really made sense. And you give Howie credit for finding a way, and Dallas and his team for finding a way to get it done.
Yeah, we want to credit Jeff McClain from the Inquirer first to report the expected deal. Some numbers here from ESPN's Field Yates. The new deal basically is worth $10 million with another $1 million in perspective money in incentives. He was due over $14 million, so it is a pay cut, but it's guaranteed money in his pocket, and it's the type of deal we thought was possible, right? It's a compromise on Goddard's part, really. I think he probably could have strong-armed his way out of here, but really at this point in the offseason, it's not like he's going to get a ton of money elsewhere. The chance to stay here in an offense he knows, or at least the framework on offense he knows, playing with players he knows, on a really good team that just won the Super Bowl, it just makes a lot of sense to figure this out. But look, if you were to ask me a couple months ago if this was likely, it wasn't trending this way. I mean, everything the Eagles said about Dallas Goedert, they were talking about him in the past tense. Like, they were talking about what he had done for this team. Every time that, Nick's around, he's like, well, he's on the team right now. It seemed like this really was trending toward a break. But then the Eagles don't really do much at the position in free agency. They sign Harrison Bryant and Kylan Granson, and they're okay players, but then they don't draft the tight end. 16 tight ends drafted. The Eagles don't take one of them. Once that happened, it felt like, okay, now there's not really a better option for either side to figure this out.
Yeah, that's exactly true. And I think there were tight ends on the table that they liked, that they wanted to draft or could have drafted. It just didn't. I think Howie even said that the value wasn't there where they were picking for those specific guys. So look, you mentioned the two guys they signed. They still have Grant Calcaterra. It wasn't enough at that position. I think we all knew that. If it wasn't Dallas, they had to go get a tight end. Tight end is such a big part of this offense. It's something that Jalen loves throwing to the tight ends. Tight ends had over 1,000 yards last year for the Eagles, even without Dallas for a big chunk of the season. They had to do something, and this made the most sense. In a way, it is surprising based on the way they were talking. You're right. They were talking in the past tense. They were talking like he wasn't even here anymore. Like it was just, but he was here. And the fact that they still hadn't caught him, they hadn't traded him. I don't know what they could have gotten for him. Probably not a whole lot. As long as he was here, there was a chance. And the fact that he was here and it's mid-May or early May tells you that they wanted to get it done. And it made too much sense to me for it to not happen. I just kept thinking they're going to find a way because it doesn't make sense not to.
I'll be honest, early on in the process with the way they were talking, I thought he wasn't going to be here. I think that changed when they got through the draft and you're looking at this roster and you go, well, I thought there was a chance that after the draft they could trade him to a team that didn't end up with a tight end. Well, they ended up being that team that didn't get a tight end in the draft. So you trade him to yourself, figure it out. Don't lose him because, so much. And I'm glad you brought that up because so much of this offseason has been kind of looking ahead, right? It's about making some tough decisions for the better good long-term of the team. And I think you agree with a lot of those decisions, like letting go of Milton Williams and letting Josh Sweat walk, even cutting Darius Slay. I didn't know if you're going to do it now that he's not on the team, but I paused.
So many more opportunities to do it, so it's important to me.
Okay. The one people disagreed with was trading C.J. Gardner-Johnson, but even the people who disagreed with it, I still think at least understood some of the rationale, right? But this is really a move that's just about 2025, and it's a good reminder that, this team is really good right now, and I think overall it would be a mistake to just try to run back everything you did last year. I think that's where you get in trouble. I think that's where the Eagles got in trouble after winning it all in 2017. But this feels like a really good compromise. Like one concession that this move is for 2025, and that's okay because that offense you want to keep intact because you're really good and you have a chance to win a Super Bowl again.
Yeah, and it occurs to me, you mentioned the phrase traded them to themselves. Only Howie could trade Goedert to the Eagles and get a 5 along with him. So he made out well. But you look at the offense, and it's intact other than right guard. You have your tight end back now. You have your wide receivers, your top 3. You have the O-line other than the right guard. You have obviously the quarterback, the running back who had an MVP season. MVP-esque season. So this offense can really build on what it did last year and be intact and keep growing. And I think I thought they actually even underachieved a little bit during the regular season. So it's kind of exciting to know that the whole group, there's going to be no period of getting to know each other and learning the offense and learning, obviously there's changes in the coaching staff, but personnel wise, they can just jump right in where they were and I would think grow on that and become a better offense. Having the whole group back is huge. It's huge for Jalen. It's huge for Nick. When you have, how the guy next to you is thinking and what he sees, and you understand how he looks at the game. And then you take that and you carry the entire thing over other than a right guard, that's huge. That's really valuable.
Yeah, I want to go through we'll go through the starting offense in a little bit here, but let's stick with Goddard for a second, because what do you think is like a positive outcome for Goddard in 2025, a realistic positive outcome?
Well, he's been really a consistent 50 yards a game guy when he's been healthy. So, you'd like to see him play at least 12 or 13 games, and which you're saying, a positive outcome is getting hurt for missing 4 games. But I think you have to be realistic. He's not going to play 17 games. He's a really physical player, and it's the way he plays. He's going to get banged up. So I would say, 13 games and say, 700 yards. I don't see it.
Yeah, I think you would take that for sure. You look at his career, 2018, his first season, he played all 16 games. That was a 16-game schedule. Since then, 15 games, 11, 15, 12, 14, and then last year, just the 10. He missed 7 games. You would take 13, right? 13 games. He's had 700 yards just twice in his career. He had that 830-yard season in 2021. In 2022, he had 702. It feels like we've done, like, for Dallas Goedert's entire career, we go, this is the year he's going to have that breakout Pro Bowl season. And there have been multiple times where he would have, if he just would have played an entire season, and it hasn't worked that way. But I think that'd be a pretty good outcome if he plays 13 games and gets close to 700 yards. And really, it's about the timing too. It's like, if he is healthy for the playoffs, you feel pretty good about it.
And that's the thing about Goddard. He always has been. Like, you talk about all the injuries and the games he's missed. He's never suffered a season-ending injury. He's always come back. We're always at his locker. How long are you going to be out? And and then he gets he gets the practice window, and he's like, I think I'll be good in 2 weeks, and then he plays again, and he's just as good. So he has been banged up, but crunch time, playoff time, he always shows up. He's always healthy. And he always produces. I mean, he's got, I think the 8th most yards, or 8th most catches ever by a tight end in the postseason, and the 11th most yards, I believe, is what it is. So those are really good numbers. Look, he's been on good teams. He's got to play 12 postseason games. They've been in the playoffs every year, I guess, since he's been here, other than 20.
Mm-hmm.
So he's had a lot of opportunities. Came the year after the Super Bowl, but you have such a comfort feeling that if
Super Bowl of 3 in the last 8 years.
Yeah, you got to, with this team now, you got to really be specific when you talk about all the Super Bowls. Never thought I'd see that happening, but I think if you can get him to the finish line of the regular season healthy, you feel like it's a W, because going into the postseason, you just know he's going to produce. And I just think he and Jalen have something. I mean, he led the team in the postseason in yards and catches, more than Devontae or AJ. It just tells you what Jalen thinks of him and the comfort level that he has with Dallas.
And he's a unique player as a tight end in this league. He's just a really good blend of everything, and that's rare. He's not, he has the big play potential, which not a lot of tight ends have, like the catch and run, yards after catch. He's a big play waiting to happen. That's rare when you pair it with what he gives you at the point of attack as a blocker in the run game. I mean, those two things don't often go together. I mean, George Kittle has that.
He's the ultimate. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the ultimate. Like, I think Goddard for a long time has kind of been poor man's George Kittle, which isn't anything to sneeze at. I mean, that's a really good skill set, and Goddard's been that for a long time now.
Yeah. And you just want to see what it would look like if he could play, 15, 16 games. Now, the starters usually don't play the last game with this team because they already have something clinched, but you just want to see what it would look like, because I still believe, and I know he's older now and the injuries have, been an issue, but I really feel like there's a 1,000-yard season in him. I mean, his performance when he's been healthy hasn't dropped, maybe a tiny bit, but really hasn't. I mean, he's still a 50 yards a game guy. There's not a lot of tight ends. I think he was 6th last year in the games he played in yards per game, like 51. So when he's healthy, he's still one of the better tight ends, I believe, in the league. So you just get you get like greedy. It's like, gosh, what if he could just play 15 games? What would that look like? And I think it would look like a Pro Bowl. But there's no way you can realistically say there's a good chance of that happening just because of his history.
Yeah, I thought you brought up a good point earlier that he misses time, comes back, and is just as effective as before the injury.
Yeah.
You would assume that it's at a certain point there'd be like some cumulative effect of these injuries, but we haven't really seen it. I mean, the only thing with his injuries is like he's going to get hurt at some point and miss some games, and you just hope it continues to be in the middle of the season and not when it really matters in the playoffs. But yeah, you're right. I mean, and these playoffs really showed it that when he's healthy, he's still one of the better tight ends in the game. I wonder what happens if he doesn't have this playoff performance. Like, he's probably not here anymore.
I agree. Yeah, because I mean the injury was late in the season. I think he came back and played one game and looked good, but I would agree with that. If it wasn't for his postseason performance, I don't think he'd be here. I think that's really where a good chunk of his value is.
It matters, right? It matters how you perform in the playoffs.
Because there's not a lot of guys who do that at any position who have that, that ability to raise their level in the postseason. I don't even know what you call it, just that clutch gene to take it to the next gear in the most important games.
And then last year, when he missed time, Grant Calcaterra actually played well. And I don't know if anyone really thought, if they lose Goedert, Calcaterra is ready to just step in to being tight end 1, but at least you get production out of that position when Goedert does inevitably miss time. Whereas in the previous years, I mean, you didn't have much there. You had Jack Stoll blocking, and like that was okay, but really there was no offensive production coming from the tight end. Whereas, it's obviously never ideal when your starter misses time, but at least you're getting something out of Calcaterra behind him.
Yeah, and I mean, he came a long way in those games. I think he had 7 catches of 20 yards or more, Calcaterra. Maybe it was 6 of 20 and a 19. But, he's a real downfield guy. And, he's not a great blocker, but he gives you big play potential, and he's got good hands. I think he's an ideal number 2, which is the role he'll be in. And I'm not sure he'll ever be a number 1. I'm sure if he played 17 games, he'd put up, pretty decent receiving numbers. Probably have 400 to 500 yards because he's just such a good receiver. But I think you'd lose a significant amount in the run game. But certainly a good, as far as skill goes, he's really a skilled tight end.
Yeah, I think, I think he has the potential to be a tight end 1. I don't think he would be the tight end 1 like Goedert, but you look around the league and it's a rare skill set that Goedert has. So, I mean, there are a lot of tight ends who really don't offer you much as blockers anyway. I think Calcaterra could maybe be that. It's just that in this city, we've had some really good ones. We had Zach Ertz, who, wasn't going to give you as much as a blocker, but was just, super productive as a pass catcher. But even a different type of pass catcher than Goedert. And that's kind of what makes Goedert so much fun, is that his yards after catch ability, his big play potential, let's just be honest, he has more of that potential than Zach Ertz. And that doesn't mean he's a better player or a better receiver, but that part of his game is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think Ertz made himself into a functional blocker. I think he got better at it. I think the Cincinnati incident really kind of changed the way he played the game, became a more physical player. He was embarrassed by it. And he was never a great blocker. Selleck was a really good combination of, he was a very good blocker and a good receiver, almost had 1,000 yards that one year. But yeah, it's a rare skill set. You can get better as a blocker, but it's hard to go from not being good at it to being great at it. So, Zach Ertz just physically wasn't built to do that. He wasn't built to break a bunch of tackles. He was built to get open and catch the ball every time it was thrown to him. Not a lot of guys in franchise history have game-winning fourth quarter Super Bowl catches. So, great career. I still think Zach Ertz is going to finish his career here, by the way.
That'd be fun.
He's going to get those. What does he need? Like 7 catches, 11 catches to catch Harold.
He was talking about that the day he left.
That was crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He was talking about the day he got traded to Arizona. He's like, maybe I can come back here and get those 11 catches. He's had a nice career. Played well last year for Washington.
He did. All right, let's take a quick break. On the other side, I want to talk about the tight end position after Goddard and Calcaterra, who we think might stick, and then we'll just go through the depth chart on offense too.
You deserve a car that thrills you, a car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, we've got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself and shop your local Nissan store and nissanusa.com today.
Rube, last week I posted my first 53-man roster projection, and I did have Goddard on it. I had Goddard and Calcaterra, just the two of them on that initial 53, which is what they did last year out of camp. I think there's a chance they do it again, but if they do keep a third, who do you think it would be? Whether it's Harrison Bryant, Kylan Granson, or E.J. Jenkins?
I don't even know if I could differentiate among the two veterans, the two outside guys they brought in. I just haven't seen them. They've each had times where they've caught some balls. I don't think either one will be here. I don't think any of them will be here to start the initial 53. I don't know. I could throw a name out there, but I could say Harrison Bryant, but
he'd be the guy I think is probably in the lead for that.
He'd probably be the most likely for me, but I still don't think it's likely he's here.
Okay. And I think E.J. Jenkins is still worth continuing to develop. They put a lot of time into him. We should mention that Ben Van Sumeren, who is now a full-time fullback, he's a part of that room, we assume. The fullback last year was in, when it was Kari Blasingame, he spent time in the tight end room. That's where he kind of lives. So I think that would be the case with Van Sumeren this year.
He lived there? He's got his mail there and slept there?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. I never knew they did it that way.
All right. This offense is good. I mean, they bring back 10 of 11 starters from the Super Bowl team. You have Jalen Hurts at quarterback, Saquon at running back, Dallas Goedert at tight end. Your 3 receivers are the same: A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jahan Dotson. The only difference on the offensive line is at right guard. Mekhi Becton no longer here. He's with the Chargers. So it can be Tyler Steen. It could be Kenyon Green. It could be Matt Pryor or one of the rookies. No matter what, I think that right guard spot is going to be the weak part of that offensive line. That's okay.
Yeah. Maybe Howie can strike gold again and find another Mekhi Becton out there and bring him in somehow, but
he might have already done that.
Pardon me?
He might have already done that with Kenyon Green.
He might have. Not super. I mean, Mekhi Becton was a better player as a bust than Kenyon Green was as a bust. But every team doesn't have 12 or 11 Pro Bowlers on each side of the ball. And every team has a guy that's just, not an elite player. It's okay.
Most teams have multiple guys.
Most teams have multiple guys. So if it is Tyler Steen at right guard, who out of the people on the roster I would say is most likely at this point, it's all right. And they've won games with Tyler Steen. He's had some good reps. He's had some good games. He's just kind of inconsistent. But man, if he's your weak link, that's a pretty good offense.
And let's be honest, as good as Becton was, he was their weak link on the line last year.
True.
I mean, weak, yes. I don't want to say he was a weak link. He was a good player, got paid $20 million over 2 years, but like he wasn't better than the other 4 starters on the line. So you're looking at a situation that it's just really good. And you're right. That offense for a lot of last season kind of underperformed a little bit, especially as a passing offense. But
yeah,
then the team scores 95 points in the NFC Championship game in the Super Bowl. It's hard to find fault. They turned it on when they needed to.
Yeah, I still think they should be in that like 31 to 32 points a game. I think there's no reason they can't be that kind with this talent. Now, when you're running the ball 40, 45 times a game, you're not going to score as many points because you're not going to have as many drives because you're running the clock and all that. Although when the guy's getting 60 yards for a touchdown,
I don't know if that's necessarily true with Saquon.
Well, I mean, I think it is just because, look, he had, 7 60-yard runs out of 350 attempts. So most of them are shorter. But, the point being, they're not a high-flying offense that's going to, in general, put up a ton of points just because they're not going to have as many drives as a lot of teams. But I don't see any reason they can't. What did they end up? They ended up under 30 last year, right? Per game. My wireless isn't working in here. I don't know why, but yeah, I think they can really make significant improvements on offense, having the whole group together. And look, Jalen's still a young guy. He's still getting better. He's had different coaches every year. There's room for growth there.
They were 27.2 last year.
That's too low for this talent. Devontae and AJ both missed 4 games, I think. Dallas missed 7 games. So that was certainly part of it. I think they only had those 3 guys together for 4 games all year or something. So I think there's a lot of room for growth. 27 points a game for that talent is, I just think it's not close to where they should be.
Yeah, and that's kind of the exciting thing is that there is room for growth. And, we'll see how Kevin Patullo does. He's kind of the one piece we don't really know. I feel like we know a little bit less about him than we do Tyler Steen at this point, just because we've never seen him call plays. We don't know exactly how much of the offense will change now that Kellen Moore is not here, but everything is setting up with this talent. Like, what a great situation to walk into if you're Kevin Patullo.
Yeah, for real. And he has enough talent that he'll do, there's a chance he'll get a head coaching job. I mean, I don't know. It's possible. This is quite a pipeline they have going here, but everything's in place. Really the coaching staff's the biggest question mark on the offense, I would think, at this point. There's just more unknowns there than on the field.
Yeah, and it obviously goes together, but getting Goedert back is one heck of a big piece. It's good news. No matter how you slice it, this is a team that has a chance to do something that's rare and repeat as Super Bowl champs. And, a lot of the moves this offseason have been long-term. This is a short-term move, but, man, it's right there for them. Yeah,
and one thing about Goedert, I think he's one of those rare players that, I think I could be wrong about this, but I think every fan likes Dallas Goedert. And you never hear, there were people that didn't like Ertz just because he didn't get those yards after the catch. It's hard to find a player that everybody likes. There's just not many. Kelsey, Doc. I mean, these are Hall of Famers.
Honestly, Devontae is one.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's people that don't like AJ because
perception, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe the books on the sideline, John Legend, I don't know. But everybody likes Goedert from what I've seen. So
I think there have been some, there's grumbling when he gets hurt, which is understandable.
Yeah, probably. But as a player, yeah. So it's a good day for the Eagles, and Howie deserves a lot of credit for finding a way to get something done that, like you said, not that long ago, we didn't think was going to happen.
Yep. All right. That was the emergency podcast. We saw the bat signal up in the air and we came through for everyone.
That means this is podcast number 900, not tomorrow's.
That's true. Yeah. 900 is not really like a fun number. We'll count from now on and we'll make sure we do something special for 1,000.
We're going to count each podcast?
Well, yeah. Well, not on the podcast, but we'll keep
I thought you were going to introduce each It's podcast number 912.
No, I won't do that.
All right. Okay, good.
All right. If you enjoy the Eagle Eye podcast, rate, subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, click the like button, subscribe there as well. This was just an extra pod. We'll be back with you on Thursday for the regularly scheduled podcast. But as always, Rube, any final words?
No, looking forward to tomorrow's podcast, though.
Me too. For Reuben Frank, I'm Dave Zangaro. This has been an emergency Eagle Eye podcast presented by Nissan. We'll talk to you soon.